Well, so a word about touching. About touching because maybe you know I've already worked on touching and Derrida worked on my own touching. But I think there is still more to say, more to find about touch, and especially if we think two things. The first is that touching belongs to every kind of art. Because touch belongs to every sense. The touch is not a separate sense, but it's in a way, as Aristotle already did know and write, or at least his student. Why? Because as you know, Aristotle, all what Aristotle wrote is lost, and all the effort of Aristotle was written by his student. It is interesting to know that such a great philosopher is known through his student. But it is a matter of touch, maybe. So that's the first reason, and the second reason is, I think we can say that in touch and touching, I don't know what is the best to say, touch or touching in English, because in French I can only say le toucher, and the touch is something a little bit different, but maybe it exists in English too. It is a touch as the way of touching something. For example, the touch of a painter. I recognize the touch of Werner, the touch of Werner, or the touch on the piano. Like you the first day, my beautiful touch on the piano, a silent touch. So the touch is very important, not only in piano, but in every use of instrument. So, well, touch and or touching is, I think, the way in every art that to enter the mystery. Precisely because touching is a process, a movement. It's not a static perception or sensation, but is dynamic. And it is even possible to say that when the movement stops, the touch stops in a way. It is when I just my hand on the table. Of course, there is a touching there, but if I don't move my hand, the touch is as a limit. I have to pay attention to the sensation I have, but if I pay attention to the sensation, then I will move my hand to better feel, but not only to better feel, but because the feeling here implies a movement. And I think that this movement, the movement which is still on the surface, is a movement or the motion which goes into the surface, or which made the underground, if you want, coming up to the surface. So, now we start with the fact that touch belongs to every sense. Of course, the first sense which seems to be the most separate from touch is seeing. To see is in the distance, and to see seems precisely to be separate from touching. But if we pay attention in seeing, not only to the activity of the view, and then I would say to the view as a directional and intentional action, that is the orthopedy of the view, or what Plato calls the orthoptes, is the right vision. The right vision is looking in the right direction to see the right thing, and that is, for Plato, the right form of the thing, and the right form is the idea. The idea, the word idea in Greek means the form, the visible form, idea or eidos. The same family, which is the family of the verb to see. In fact, idea and eidos belong to the past tense of the verb orao, which is to see. The past tense, that is what I have seen, what has been seen. So the form. I look at, I've seen, this is a cylinder of glass, etc. But this is the view or the seeing precisely as an activity toward an object, and in that meaning it became the model for knowledge in our tradition. The rightness of looking at, and I would say it's more looking at than seeing. The rightness of looking at, and at the right object in the right direction, etc., etc. You can read Heidegger about that, about the orthotes of the vision, the rightness of the vision, as a model that, of course, Heidegger wants to criticize or to reconstruct. But there would not be any kind of seeing if we would not first receive something to, not only something to see, but something that makes our eye able to see. If we are in the total darkness, we receive nothing, we receive no light, and we see nothing. Apart of the fact that to see the darkness is still to see something. But maybe to see in the darkness, that is to see without the possibility to look at, or to look at become only a way of open the eyes to the darkness and receive the darkness in the eyes. That may be an image to tell us that things start like any other sense with a passivity, with a receptivity. I have to receive the light, or even the darkness as a kind of the light. The light, and not only the light as what Latin called lux, that is the illuminating light, but as well as lumen, that is the light taking the objects and giving the objects their shapes, their form, and their colors. So all that, the light as a source of illumination and as a discovering of things in their shape, their matter, their grain, for example, their brilliance and color. That is, I would say, the first step, if it has a meaning to speak of step. So that is a reception. After Plato, Democritus and Epicure did have a quite different theory of vision. They say that the vision is made by, in the Latin of Epicure, by simulacra. It is like thin skin, in Latin pellicula, like in the film, coming from the thing to my eye and entering my eye. For Epicure, there are still an infinity of such pelliculae, coming from the thing and taking with them the brightness, the color, the shape of the thing. So, and what do we receive when we receive the, how do you call that? We may call that the image. Or, I don't know, maybe image is a good word. What do we receive? We don't receive only visual matter. Or we can ask what is then visual matter. Visual matter is a very complex one. And I see much more than shape, form, and color. And particularly color. And nothing is without color. Like I don't remember which I think the pre-Socratic philosopher says, nothing is visible without color. And what is color? Color, I would say, is precisely which is no form, but is in the form or is given through the form, because if you take the form out, then the color will go everywhere, and all the color is mixed together, and there will be no longer any color. There will be red. But what is color? Color is much more than a visual quality, because in the visual quality of color, there there is at the same time something it is easy to understand as a kind of touch. The color is strong or weak, has a certain quality of brilliance or darkness, of to be I can't say glass, no, it's a
Clear.
flat surface, or give you a sense of deepness. I would say color is nothing else than the materiality of the thing coming out and offering in a way itself, not at the surface, but as a surface. I see the green of the grass. You can see the green of the grass, and within the grass, the different green of different sort of grass or plant, and the green of the tree is another green, and etc. And what do I feel with the green of the grass? I feel the grass. I feel the matter of the leaves, the tenderness or the strongness of here the leaves, or the white leaves. On the mountain there is a quite different green, which is no longer the green of leaves, but the green of mousse, la mousse, liquid, never mind. So the color is, I would say color is something quite different from the spectral color. In the ordinary, I would say, physical way of speaking of color, we are first thinking to the spectrum, and we say the color is a certain kind of composition of the light in different frequency of vibration, and then we have the spectrum. But you know, the spectrum is something very poor, especially if I divide the spectrum in red, orange, yellow. Spectrum is almost nothing. And the same with the fundamental color. What means fundamental color? Blue, red, yellow. Okay, which blue? Which red? Which yellow? There is no one red which is the same than another red, except in a mechanical fabrication of red. Of course, the red of this marker is the same of this one. I'm not sure. But it is the same. The painter knows very well, and it is, I would say, it is his job, the painter, to know that no red is like another red. There are many names for different reds. You know, I don't know in English, but carmine, I think it exists no, in English, carmine or amaranth, or there are a lot of different reds, like a lot of different blues. Wittgenstein said something very nice about color. He says, give me again this blue, and I mean, to explain, this precise blue at this place on the canvas. So imagine, canvas is not this precise blue of the canvas. And he said, it is impossible, because this precise blue at this place, imagine, I don't know, a canvas with Maria, with blue dress of Maria, and on the place of the dress, the blue cannot be separate from the wall of the dress, and the dress cannot be separate from the rest of the canvas, because each color is resounding with the color around it. So Wittgenstein said that to show that the absolute singular property of one color has no meaning, or has only, which is not a meaning, but much more the sense to be at this place in the neighbor, and even in the contact, precisely, which other color, in the contact, and in a way to enter the color which is on the border of it. So, just that, color is the touch of the thing, of the matter, of one precise matter. This is why it is not indifferent to paint on a canvas, or on paper, or on cardboard, or on a wall, on wood, whatever. It is not indifferent to paint with that, with this pigment, or this other one, with oil, or with acrylic, or with pastel, with everything is a way to produce and to receive, even to appear to a certain quality of something that could not be described, I think, without a vocabulary of touching. And precisely, we speak of a touch of the painter, and we speak of a touch of color, add a touch of add a touch of white, or some white to an orange, or like yesterday, it was too much blue on the screen. And I understand very well Claire when she said, it's not for me, it's for you. It was for, I think she was more hurted than we, as the blue, was very, a little, not a little, but too much. But I think she, because she is a cineast, a filmmaker, she is ultra sensible to that. I've seen once Claire in the studio for a film. Yes, it was for The Intruder, and she spent, if I remember well, she spent half an hour to change the color of just one image, in a scene at the end of the day. The boat is on the sea, and the day is going up, and so the sky become violin, and she was there with the photographer, and she said, no, that's a little too blue, a little too red, no, a little too dark, a little too white, you know. It takes half an hour. And I don't think she was totally happy at the end, but it should be an end. And I think every visual artist, painter, photographer, it is exactly the same with white and black. You know, white and black film or photo is as well a play with color. In a certain extent, maybe the black and white is a way to expand something of the touch, you know, because the black and white, precisely there is an infinite quantity of black and white, and between the black and the white plays the difference which makes the white having, I would say, the charge to take all the quality of the surface. You know? It is, for example, in films in black and white, in photo, the quality of the skin is very, very, very hard to take, to grasp. That is to touch. And what we have to receive a film is a kind of touch. You know? Is what in French I would call the grain of the skin. Of a skin or of object. Recently, the last film I've seen is the White Ribbon of Haneke, and I don't know if you've seen it. There are in the film 2 or 3 views of country, and a field with something like corn growing on the field, and just taken and elaborate with such a light that you feel the corn as it would be the source of light itself. You know? The brilliant, the sky is I would say it's pure light, but this light comes from the corn. I don't know how he made the light, because it is filmed outside. I don't know what filter, what kind of camera, etc. But what you feel is something which, at the same time, make you see a corn, a field of corn, but the field of corn as offering to you a touch you never would at least think of it in presence of the real field of corn. But maybe after that, when you go and you see a field of corn, you can't return to this touch, because this touch is in a certain way, is in the property of the, you know what is about the surface of the corn. It is brilliant, it is hard, not really hard, but of course it's not metal, but it is not like glass, you know. It is something, I don't know, it is not skin precisely, it is something between skin, leaf, and of course very far from wood. I don't know how I could say that in English, but so you know better than. But this is even something which is beyond the words. You know. This is a touch. So, and of course, you know that we use to describe the color with tactile words. We can speak about the tenderness or the hardness of this blue, this yellow, this etc. Or we would speak about I don't know in French we say le velouté. It's an adjective made with velvet. I don't know if you know that. So a color can be. I can't describe a color with the word velvet. It is, and what is velvet? Velvet is a fabric. And I think that every color has something from a fabric, or from a matter, from the constitution and how to say that, the organization of matter. So, and but this way of speaking of color is only a case among the entire circulation of metaphor between the art. You know? We speak of color with word of touching, we speak of sounds, of music with word of color or of touching. We can't speak of dancing, but to speak of touching is different, because it is difficult to speak of touching with a word coming from color, or visuality in general, or of sound, you know. Because touching is because I think touching can not very be described with the art terms. So hard, tender, granulate, or lisse, so flat. But there are not so many words. And this is, I think, precisely because touch is much more, as I said, in the motion, the movement. It isn't I have to go on the surface, along the surface, to take it, receive it, keep it, and anyway. To let operate something that belongs to every sense, that is, according to Aristotle once again, that is that the sensible, the meaning of to say the sensible organ, becomes like the sensible thing. You know, sensible has both meanings, the active and the passive one. Aristotle said to be, or maybe, I don't know, in English it's better to say the sensitive and the sensible, no?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the sensitive becomes like the sensible. But there is no place where this is more to touch, to take, to grasp, than by touching. When I touch, my skin become like the surface I am touching. It is not that my skin doesn't transform itself, but to touch is maybe to épouser,
To join.
to marry. Yes, I can't say that. To marry is to marry. Is to marry the thing, the surface I am touching. To marry, yes. It's open enormous reflection about marriage. Yes, but what is marriage if not touching? Marriage without touching is named blank marriage. That's precisely without color, uncolored marriage. So first that, the color, I would say, color is, in a way, is the matter, that is the real sensible thing, or I would say the sensible of everything. And this is why we cannot, I would say, we cannot touch without touching something, but we can touch without perceiving color. But without perceiving color, we perceive something, I would say, which is the real place from where color comes. I mean, of course, if I touch the table, I don't touch the white. And it doesn't matter if the table, the same table is white or black or green. If I touch it in the darkness, I will have something which is, I would say, more than a color and than a sound, because it is something which communicates itself, in a way, communicates entirely itself to my finger, to my skin. Then I'd say, touch is to come in the proximity of the thing, in the literal meaning of proximity. The proximity is a superlative of
Close.
No, but in Latin, proximus is a superlative, but what is not even the comparative, what is the neutral form of to be near of, near, and perhaps the neutral form is lost behind proximity. There is only proximity. So proximity is to be the nearest of something. And what does that mean? The nearest mean what is to be in touch, to be in contact with. But to be in contact is at the same time twice. First is something negative. To be in contact, to be in the proximity, is not to be inside. Because inside is another thing. Inside, if I go inside the table, there is another matter. The matter of the surface is one. The matter of the it's not wood, but the matter of the compressed wood from which the table is made is another thing. Of course, I can open the table and touch into the table, but it is a different thing. And this is why I think in sex, I think that the word penetration, which is, I don't remember now if I don't say that now, or yesterday now, the word penetration seems to me a very bad word to say what happened in sex, because there is never penetration in the body. The sexual inside of the body is still an outside. it is a sexual outside. The real inside of the body is a anatomical inside. And I can't open the body and touch. It is painful, but the question is not that it is painful. It is that it is another body. Open the body, and this is something quite different. This is why we have such difficulty and ambiguity with the idea of the medical body. Because the medical body is another body. The medical body is a body made of, flesh, bone, muscles, a lot of things that, of course, one may touch, but to touch them, you have to open the body, and to open the body, you have to hurt the people. And hurting is no longer touching. In sex, there is no, there shall not be hurting, but there is no penetration. There is a change in the surface of the body, but there is still the surface. There is still a relation to the outside and to the other. I say that because I think it's a very, very good and not only an example. Certainly, it has to do with something which goes through all the sensual, sensitive, and then aesthetical behavior. That is, all aesthetics is on the surface. Because if you go into the surface, you change the surface. You go in another thing, another matter. So, touch is the relation to the thing as it is in the proximity, it is the nearest possible, but not inside. Not in the penetration, because the other side of the penetration is that if I penetrate, I do something else than to be in the proximity. Or I invent a new proximity. If I am a doctor and I can open then and I go into the bones, like into the bone of Wolfgang, and I see, I touch something which is no longer the body of Wolfgang, or it's the body of Wolfgang in a kind of, I would say, in an exteriority. As a broken bone, it belongs to Wolfgang Schirmacher, but it is not Wolfgang Schirmacher. What is Wolfgang Schirmacher is the painful arm of him, not the bone inside. And it's the same for every part. You can replace the arm of Wolfgang. You can replace both arms and legs and almost everything apart the brain, and you have still Wolfgang Schirmacher. But if you change everything, the feeling of a new part of the body changed, transplanted to the body, the feeling will still be the feeling of the person, of the same person. So it shows, which is very important, that touching happens in the proximity, and the proximity is the distance, the minimal distance, but the distance. And what is the distance? The distance, even the distance zero, from when I touch, distance is not absolutely zero, because I could measure the distance with some tool. I could measure it in micron. But the distance is simply the exteriority which allows to come close to. Without the exteriority, there is no longer any way to come close to. This is why the distance and the to be close to is something so intriguing and problematic in philosophy. It is expressed by a strange word which is not a philosophical category, or was not until Heidegger. It is a category of the with. The with, mit in German, with is in French avec, and avec comes from the Latin apud hoc. Hoc is this, and apud is close to. With or meet is or has the meaning of being close to, being together. The togetherness implies a kind of proximity, not necessarily the proximity of touching, but a kind of proximity. We are together in the room, but in 2 days we will no longer be together in that way, at least spiritually, of course. Right? So the togetherness is precisely what Heidegger introduced, in Being in Time, in paragraph 25, when he says that the Dasein, I don't know how it is translated, being there, being there is all the time and essentially a being there with, mit Dasein, or Mitsein, but better mit Dasein. And then Heidegger writes in that case to speak about mit Dasein, that is of something essential to the Dasein, that is to the existence. We have to think of the with, of the mit, not in a categorical meaning, but in existential meaning. That means for Heidegger that the categorical meaning is simply the with as a local and exterior meaning. The glass is with the bottle and with a sheet of paper, etc., on the table. So not categorical, but existential. Existential for Heidegger mean like the transcendental in Kant, it is made after the transcendental, mean having a meaning, or no, better, being a condition for the existence itself. That means for Heidegger that the categorical meaning of with is a pure external meaning. This thing is with the other, and then existential means that to be with is a condition for the existence, that is for the experience of existence. I think that Heidegger introduced something which is absolutely new, in the history of philosophy. I think that was nowhere the category of with was introduced, and at the same time he doesn't pay attention to something very simple. I think. That is, that even the categorical meaning of the with, that is the pure fact of being together, of being in a kind of proximity, has already an existential meaning. This is simple to understand. If I take together those things in that way, I am on the edge to produce something, some meaning. If I do that, why did you just do that? Is it some kind of sense emerging only from this proximity? And the artist knows that. What made the artist in the ancient time of art by making still life? They put together things, glass, apple, fish, fork, and the still life is all the time a way to do something with the togetherness. It's a kind of Mitsein without Dasein, because there is no Dasein there, at least in the Heideggerian meaning of the human existence. And think what happened when we are together in a way or in another way, but our way now is not the best way, because we are together but with a regulation, that is, each of you is there to listen to me, and I am here to speak to you. So this disturbs the togetherness. It's better to go in the bus, in the train, on the plane, but on the plane you don't see many people. But you go in a bus, into the street, and you are together with other people, but you have nothing to do each with other. You're thinking you are with them. It takes not a long time, if you observe what happens, to feel that a lot of things could happen. In the normal way, nothing happens. But if just, I don't know, if the bus stop where he should not stop, if there is something, I don't know, if somebody collapses in the bus, at the very moment, enormous quantity of relation starts to open themselves, which means that those relation was already there. Just to do that, I like to do that. I like the bus, the tram, and to observe how in a way, if you pay attention to that, in a way, not everybody, but a lot of people are, even in an unconscious way, observing the other. Maybe this man is dangerous, I don't know, he looks strange. Or maybe this other one is pretty, is nice, or this woman, depends if I'm hetero or homosexual, you know, so the bus, the tram, the metro is a place to, how you say that in slang, we say draghi. Hooker. So, yes, but what does it mean? It means that the proximity, of course the proximity may be in many situations a sexual proximity, but a sexual proximity means that sex itself is a status of, or the status of the highest proximity. But any proximity is at the same time a way or an opportunity of aesthetical proximity. I feel the shape, the color, and the touch of people, but of things, of sources. I don't know what's against the grass, the tree, etc. So the proximity is something I think much more important than we think. Proximity, which it's true can happen as proximity in the distance. I mean the distance of or the telephone, the television, the email, of the internet, etc. There are different kind of proximity. Think about the proximity of the telephone. Telephone implies physical distance, but through the telephone we feel the proximity of the voice, which is something which maybe is never so intense and so present when we are not on the phone, but in the presence. Maybe the small transformation of the voice through the phone itself and the isolation of the voice, which we would say starts to work like a musical process with sound. Just start. Isolating the voice, you make the special character of this voice more sensible. So the distance is not only the spatial distance and proximity, but of course the spatial, the local one is the best way to touch it or to be touched by it. So the proximity as the minimal distance, and by the same way the distance as a condition to be in relation to each other, is nothing else than the possibility of sense. If you suppress the distance, totally suppress it, either by making it very enormous distance and without any tele means of communication, then you suppress the sense. If you suppress the distance by the other way, by entering the other body, again, you suppress the possibility of sense. What is the sense my body has for the doctor when my body either is open in chirurgy or is not open but is only an object of consideration about I don't know what medicine he will give to me, and so he's in a way or in another is looking inside my body. I would say that of course there is a sense, but the sense is going through the meaning of medicine, of it goes very, very far, because it can go until the question I asked for yesterday, why a long life, etc. Or the question, what is the best for one people or the other? It is the best to have the best medicine, or maybe not to have the absolutely best and the most normal way of taking medicine. But the best could be not to be too much medicalized, and to go further, I don't know, with the pain, with the effect, with the illness. So the distance and proximity. That is the very possibility of touching is not only the place of sense, I would say it is the actuality, the motion of sense. And I would even say the world, the entire world, is nothing else than the togetherness of a lot of things. And this lot of things are, in a way, all touching the other. In a way, we are touching all the galaxies, because between we here in Sarsfee and the sun and beyond another galaxy, Andromeda, and etc. There are still a continuity of touching, because what is called the void in the world is never the absolute void. It is a way of contact with it, at least through energy, which is matter. So, say, what is the world? The world is the togetherness of things. And maybe we human beings with language and thinking, we are here for nothing else than to recognize, express, and act this togetherness. And maybe art, every kind of art, is a way to make this togetherness come on the surface. What happens with music? With music, it happens that the resounding of a body, I mean a physical body, the resounding of a tube or a cord, not only comes into me and makes me hearing a special sound, with a special timbre and even melody, etc. But it resounds and vibrates out of me, through me, and again out of me, far of me, to another. And music is something we are listening, or we may listen to it together. Of course, we can look together at a painting, but one could say it is not absolutely the same, because no one is at the same place. But music is much more in the proximity, because music, in a way, can be said that music comes from everywhere, goes everywhere through the body. It does not come only in the ears, Music, I would say, visits the entire body. You feel the music in your belly, in your legs, and even you start to move with the music. It can't be the same with painting, but it is maybe more close to the music. So, what does that mean? That means that sense is, at least, and at the starting point, sense is emotion. It's a motion and an emotion. Or what we call emotion it is affective touch, precisely. We are touch. This is touching, or we are moved. This is moving. Is the, I would say, is the true effect of touch. If we don't touch in order to get an information, touch to know what it is wood or I don't know what artificial matter. But if we touch just in order to touch, we touch not in order to, because it is not absolutely intentional, but we touch and we enter a movement which is at the same time our movement and the movement of the thing. Even with a still thing, even if I touch a stone, my skin becomes something from the stones, and the stone becomes something from my skin. The stone, I would say, start to enter in a vibration which is no more mine than the one of the stone, but which is precisely in between us. What made the sculptor the stone? The sculptor is precisely entering the touch of the stone, the resistance, the hardness, and eventually the special vein in this stone, and going in the motion of the stone. And so giving motion to the stone, but receiving the proper motion of the stone. And every kind of motion is at the same time an emotion. It is, even if it is not a sentimental emotion, or I just say that to avoid the sentimentality of sentimental, but there is sentiment there. This is exactly, I would say, touching is exactly the point where all the value of sense are going together. The value of the sensation, sensibility and sensitivity, the sensuality, and the sense. As we said, the intellectual sense, but precisely it is not intellectual, or it is a place where we can discover and feel that there is no intellect in the sense. Sense is nothing intellectual. The sense belongs to thinking, yes, soul, but to think is not to be in the intellectuality or the intelligence. The intelligence or intellectuality, the understanding. Of course, it is not nothing. I don't become the anti-intellectual, but intellectuality as such, that is what happened only on the level of the rationality, of the analysis and synthesis, understanding, argumentation, cause and consequences, like this wonderful city in America, Cause and Consequences, the more intellectual city in the world. Yes, it is. I like that. This is somewhere in the Colorado. truth and consequences. Yes, it exists. But, once again, I think about that, I shall absolutely get the history of this city. Well, truth and consequences, that is a city for intellectuality. But we are something else than intellectuality. Or intellectuality is something on the way to sense, of course. But if the intellectuality or if the intellect does not come to a kind of feeling, if the intellect doesn't touch and be touched, this is a poor intellect. I think we all know that. And then, I will stop with that now, about touch. No, I think this is the reason for what, if there is a taboo among the whole mankind, an important taboo with a lot of different forms and laws, this is a taboo of touching. You can see in Freud's Totem and Taboo a whole chapter, if I remember well, or at least many pages, about the taboo of touching. Freud take it as a model of the taboo. In each civilization there is a taboo of touching, and on the reverse side, as I said when I started about the sacred is or was, in any culture where there is or was sacred, is something you don't have the right to touch. To enter the temple or the sacred part of the temple is to touch. To enter is not only, is not precisely not to penetrate as much as to touch. Like, for example, in the mosque you cannot enter with your shoes, because to touch with the shoes is to touch with something which can be dirty, and so as to remain as an entry of the mosque. But the taboo of touching is so strong and so universal that we all have a taboo about touching. We are not allowed to touch everybody in every manner at every time. You know? We was discussing with you the way the different people are kissing. There are people who kiss one time, one cheek. Other kiss 2 times, other 3 times, other 4 times. I don't know 5, but 4. But in France, there are is a country on the north of France, and even I think in Belgium, you kiss 4 times. There are countries where what the Spanish called the abrazo, and the Italian abbraccio, and we call embrasser, to embrace, yes, you say embrace for that. It's very, very common. Everybody embrace, and especially between men. In other country, in the country of the north of Europe, you don't do that. And there are way of abrazo in Spain. Abrazo is doing that on the back of the other. So all that are insignificant customs. But they say a lot about the way entering in relationship. And even simply the give the hand, the shake hand, which is something modern, the French people say shake hand a long time in the 19th century because it came from England. I don't know why, but I think the French and the Latin people before they did not shake their hand. Maybe they mostly embrace. And I've seen, during my life, I've seen a transformation in France in the relationship between men. And I know that because in a book I wrote in 80 about community, I wrote that the men are not kissing themselves in the public. In 80 it was true. Now it's no longer true. In the meanwhile, the habit of kissing between men become not absolutely general, but because, yes, broad and come from the people of the theater. Why? Because, certainly because in the theater there is a special way to be together, to act together. There is a more physical and sensual proximity between people playing together all the time, all the day. So I don't know exactly why, but I know that slowly the kissing between men become a behavior, a normal behavior from the theater to the artist, from the artist even to the philosopher, and even partly to academic people. But it is interesting to see how it stopped inside the academy. Not every academic people kiss the other, certainly not. Because to kiss is a sign of proximity. And even so, it will go further, of course, because the proximity is no longer simply the proximity of the hand, of the skin, of the entire body in the embrace, but it is the proximity of the lips, the mouth, and what is the mouth, and what the lips, and what is a kiss. We can take an entire course to the kiss. Kiss there is a lot of things, because maybe in the kiss there is the proximity of something which is more than the body and the skin, that is the proximity of the le souffle,
breath,
the air, no? Breath. The breath. So to kiss is like a way to breathe like into the other, or the proximity of the other, and the breath is like soul, that is expiring the soul and inhalating the soul of the other. Then it comes to kiss from mouth to mouth, which is sexual and also the loving kiss. Just to say that, in a way, I would say the entire world is in the way to embrace, at least, if not to kiss itself, but to embrace itself. At least to touch. And this is what makes sense. And this is the place where sense makes sense. Where sense is not only, and I would say, even if not first, is not first a mean of information about outside. Of course, the sense give me an information about what is in front of me, where I have to go, what I have to take, how, etc. But I would say information is second. Sensuality, that is sense, absolutely taken. That is relation to and from, and relation between is first. And if it would not be that, then I would say it would be impossible not to understand, because understand would be positive, scientific, intellectual, but to recognize and feel and experience something just in the fact that there are so many things around the world. But why so many things? I would say, of course, there is no answer to this why in terms of causality, but there is an answer in terms of sense. Why so many things? Because the more things, the more relation, the more sense. And this is why the world is there. This is why the Mit-Dasein of Heidegger is, what Heidegger says, is an existential and not a categorical. But once again, the categorical is already an opening to the existential.